everybody, and welcome to the 6th edition of Broad Topics. My name is Colleen.
My name is Amanda.
And I'm Shandy.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Here we are. It's election night eve that we're recording this live over Zoom. Joining us right now, we have, in order on my screen, we have Ro, Judy, Kayla, Mandi, Allison, John, Matt, Piper, and Randy. Hi, guys. How's it going? Everybody?
Hey.
Hello.
Hello.
Is everybody ready for the virus to go away on November 4th? I hear that that's about to happen. So, are we all excited about that?
I just had my 4th booked cruise canceled today.
Oh. That's a bummer.
Does it get any easier?
No.
I didn't think so. I'm sorry. That joke was in poor taste.
Awesome. So, how is it going? How is everybody feeling? Please feel free to unmute and join in. I'm a little nervous. Got, the nervous energy thing going on. Anybody else? Anybody else feeling a little freaked out?
I'm still sort of thinking about the system in general and haven't really gotten to tomorrow, because yesterday Frank's parents called and he was talking to them on the phone about the election and everything. And I was overhearing this conversation. I was overhearing him explaining that it's possible that Trump could not win the most votes, but still win the election. And that's what happened in 2016. And him explaining the Electoral College to, somebody who lives in a more direct democracy. And it was honestly just so embarrassing to hear that explanation. And we just kind of accept it, but that's not true democracy.
No. Well, and apparently in our history, we've tried to get rid of it a few times.
Yes.
My favorite podcast, that's not our podcast that I talk about all the time, NPR's Throughline, did a very interesting 3-part.
Yes. Oh, I started to listen and I never finished.
Voting and how terribly inefficient our system is. And the first episode was about the Electoral College. And it was very illuminating because I've always been on the get rid of it. It doesn't work. But they gave such a wonderfully nuanced view of it that it really informed my thinking. So,
well, wasn't it originally created as a compromise for slavery, essentially?
Essentially. Well, and it's also that there was part of, there were members of the Founding Fathers that felt as though we couldn't trust people the uninformed to make such a big decision because, we didn't have little tiny computers in our hand and information was not going to get to the people it needed to get to. And so they were just afraid that if people made an uninformed choice and voted for someone that was unqualified, that the Electoral College could prevent that from happening, which is really kind of ironic when you think about where we are now.
Those little tiny things in our hands actually have created more disinformation and upheaval. Yes.
Basically.
And we did end up with somebody wildly unqualified.
Exactly. But I guess
who also didn't win the popular vote.
So. Exactly. Yeah. Well, and even just the way the popular vote came into existence. And I think it was as late as the 60s, or Shandy, you said you listened to it as well. So stop me if I'm speaking.
Now I'm thinking that maybe I didn't listen to quite the same thing, but I listened to it.
There's been a lot of work done, pieces done on the Electoral College this cycle, as it is, I think, every cycle. I downloaded it and started to listen, and then I think I got distracted because I definitely did not hear all 3 parts.
Go back. It's really worth a listen. They really do a fantastic job.
Okay, I will definitely.
In France, it's just you vote and your vote counts for 1 vote, and then somebody else votes and their vote counts for 1 vote, and you just add up the votes, and the person that gets the most votes wins, and your vote doesn't count for more if you live in the countryside versus if you live in Paris. And it's just wow, what a novel thought.
Well, and another thing that they do in foreign governments that they don't do here is they don't have that lame duck period of time, right? Somebody loses in England and the prime minister or whatever, and then they change power the next day practically, right? Isn't it there's no lame duck 2 months where Donald Trump gets to ruin everything. 2 months, 2 months, 2.5 months, technically.
Yeah.
The damage he could do in that time.
He is going to do so much damage. It's going to be executive order after executive order. Every single lobbyist that, wants to slip him some money on the way out to get their shit, passed. I mean, that swamp is going to overflow like a tsunami swamp or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Like a backed up toilet.
yeah, that's probably a better.
I mean, let's be accurate with our metaphors here.
All right, fair. But anyway, I did a thing where I bought a big pack of that Baby Bell cheese, which I had previously sworn off for 2 years because it just doesn't, cheese doesn't always agree with me. And I've been eating it.
That's a really good point. I should go out and get some string cheese or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So the cheese ban happened when Jay was doing Weight Watchers, because when I was pregnant with Alex, I used to eat mozzarella sticks every night because I was like, it doesn't matter. I know it's so embarrassing to talk about it now, but yeah. So then, after Alex was born, I kept doing it. And then once Jay was doing the Weight Watchers and I saw how many points were in mozzarella sticks, I was like, perhaps I should also not do that. Anyway, so yes,
that's all I want are mozzarella sticks.
I know. I'm so sorry. I'm back on the cheese, is what I'm saying. It's not great.
But mozzarella sticks are their own little corner of heaven.
They super are. And now that we have the air fryer, I'm kind of tempted to try it out. And I've been doing the Lactaid pills because Ro had recommended it in that same year in 2018 in when you guys were here. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Is anybody else stress eating cheese or anything like that?
I mean, that's been all pandemic for me.
Yeah, cheese is just a natural go-to part of my everyday meal. So
Yeah.
It doesn't work with my tummy.
I did make a cheesecake though yesterday, and I'm probably going to eat the whole thing by the time Wednesday at noon rolls around.
a cheesecake.
Yeah. Well, but it's a no-bake one, so it's cheating.
No, but I don't understand.
It's really more
cheesecake. Cheesecake.
I like cheese and I like cakes, so this is sounding very promising. But I'm not familiar with the combining of the two.
Really?
Wait, what?
Cheesecake?
Okay.
Cheesecake.
Okay. We're gonna put a pin in this, and this is going on the notes for the next show because. What? Can somebody please DoorDash Shandy some cheesecake right now?
I just maybe had my dumbest moment in my entire existence. It was the words were not coming together in my mind. I was really thinking cheese, that you made cheese in the. Yeah, no, cheesecake. I am familiar with the concept, and it's very good. Okay, good, because I just wrote it down to talk about.
I mean, to be fair, wheels of cheese as a cake, is a thing. I have seen that before.
They actually do. Yeah, at Wegmans, they sell them, yeah.
Yeah. I also, a friend for her bridal shower, they made her a cake that looked like a wheel of cheese, but it was actually cake.
No, I like that. See, that's more where my mind went.
That's
okay. Yeah. Okay. Allie said that she DoorDashed some donuts the other day. Listen, she used to DoorDash.
What kind of donuts?
Actually, I selected a random dozen, and then I also did some sprinkle ones on the side for the girls.
The side.
And they actually called me and said, "Oh, we don't have any of the white with the rainbow sprinkles." And I was
those are my favorite.
We just want some donuts.
Where did you get them from? Was it Dunkin' Donuts or?
No, it was just a local shop.
Oh, that's way better.
Go turn on the show, girls. My girls are coming in here now. It's early here. I didn't get to put my kids to bed like you guys.
Sorry.
That's why I had to leave early.
They've been.
They were going crazy.
Yeah. Are you having trouble with the time change too? Because Alex was up at 4 a.m.
Oh God.
4:44 in the morning.
Mine are actually late. They're late sleepers and they like to stay up late. So like last night, it was actually like we went to bed at a reasonable hour because it felt like it's now. But they're late sleepers. So.
Gotcha.
That's the best part of virtual learning for us is that now there is no bedtime. It's like they go to bed when I go to bed, and if I want to 11, they stay until 11, and some days they don't wake up until 10 the next day. And then they're just like, well, I'll watch the recording of the Zoom, turn in the work. Like, as long as you're still making honor roll, I don't care. You do you. Do whatever you want.
Oh my God! See, this is therapy. We're giving each other a big support group tonight. Because
that's cool to get to like experiment with self-regulation.
Yeah, important life skills.
Yeah.
So, how is everybody else doing? Ro, Judy, Piper, how you guys doing?
I'm a wreck. Let's just put it out there. Of course, fear number one is what's going to happen while we're waiting for the result. And there's some crazy things happening, I know, all across the country, but there's some concerns in New York City, which, I work in Manhattan, but I'm with what was said earlier. I don't know if we get, please, the result we would like, please. I don't know what crazy stuff is going to happen between an actual result and inauguration. Like, that's a fear. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to live on that fear rather than the fear of what happens if we don't get the result I believe most of us in this Zoom pray for, in whatever way we pray.
I would say probably all of us in this Zoom.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. Looking around.
Yeah.
That's how I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I worry about that too. Especially when you saw this past weekend the video of the pickup trucks ramming into the Biden bus in Texas, which, yes, John just put that in the chat. I saw the video and I was just very taken aback because, like, I don't know. I don't see Antifa doing that kind of shit.
They actually hit a car that belonged to the state Democratic chairman that was following the bus. And you can see the truck actually hitting the car.
Yeah.
It was really ugly. And Trump praised those folks today.
Mm-hmm. He did.
Sure
he did.
Yes.
And
he said he did it on purpose. It was not an accident. He admitted it.
Yeah. Oh.
He said that they were protecting the bus.
Oh, I know. There's a lot of stupid thing that Trump says, but I mean, if you have eyes, it's pretty obvious. I don't know. A lot of things are pretty obvious with eyes. Oh, I know. But then was it Marco Rubio or Matt Gaetz? So one of them tweeted today about like, ha, Texas, we do that in Florida every day. It's like, I know.
Wow.
I know.
2020 America. That's the thing is, like, I don't care what candidate you support. Like, if that doesn't worry you, then what is wrong with you?
I know. That's why I'm
And then Junior was out there encouraging people to go after Kamala when she went to Texas.
No, I didn't see that.
Yes, he did.
Just the
he did.
Human being.
He said, what you guys did with the bus was great. You really, Kamala's coming. You should kind of do the same thing.
Oh, my God.
We voted by in our car. We drive up voting, and there's 4 people in our household. We all rode over together. Then Saturday there was a lawsuit filed to throw out 110,000. Yeah, 110,000.
I believe it was 127,000 at the end.
It went up, yeah.
Yeah.
But so far the protest has been squashed. They can't find a basis for it. But I mean, we all sat in the car and voted. It was great. Then we went to get Chinese food.
That sounds like a happy ending.
Saw some places had 24-hour voting.
Yes.
Wow.
That's really cool, actually.
We did Thursday and Friday also.
Yeah, if you work night shifts, you can still sleep during the day and vote at night.
Yeah.
Before or after work.
That's cool.
Jay said that the employees on his team, he let them all take like comp time to go vote. to make sure that, they voted too. So, and I think a lot of businesses are doing that. And I think I told you guys that my boss had mentioned a few weeks ago when we were talking, and we had both volunteered to work at the Board of Elections, but there were too many people at the board had applied, so we got rejected. But I had mentioned to her, this was a month or so ago, that I might not be, we have a luncheon tomorrow, it's virtual. I was like, I volunteered to do the polls, so I don't know if I'm going to be participating in it or whatever. And she was like, I think that we should all do that since it's a virtual luncheon. I think that I'm going to send out an email for everyone to do that. And then the next day I got my rejection thing and I was like, duh, don't even bother. I'm alternate number 412. So
you never know.
Which was good. And the people at our polling location, we actually noticed, and Jay's parents went to vote over the weekend. They noticed that there were younger people working at their precinct too. So maybe that's why voting has been so speedy in Raleigh nowadays. Oh, I'm just kidding. Sort of.
Well, our home county had more votes cast in the early voting this year than they did in 2016 for the whole election.
Yes.
Election day.
There are
incredible.
There are 4 states that I believe have met that threshold now. I just actually read it tonight, and now I can't remember. I feel like Alaska was randomly one of them or something. No, I could be just kidding. I think Hawaii was. Maybe that's. I don't know. There were 4 that had higher early voting totals than total 2016. Georgia had an incredible turnout as well, especially I believe African Americans over age 60 turned out for early voting at 300% or something crazy. I'm exaggerating, higher than they did in 2016. Again, I'm exaggerating the number. It was something very high. I was reading this article while Alex was trying to fall asleep. But yeah, so I think that is positive. When we worry, the worry to me would be that so I think that I know I'm taking a stupid long time to make this thought come out. I think that the majority of early voting was blue, and I think that as long as the turnout tomorrow, because the Republicans are all waiting to vote the day of. So I know that the fear is there, with Republicans, that the mail-in voting was cheating and it's going to cancel mine too, or blah, blah, blah. But I think that as long as we can keep our higher turnout for early voting more than what the turnout is tomorrow, it's going to be a really good sign. Does that make sense? I know that I'm having trouble processing this thought.
It does. No,
okay. Okay.
So in Tennessee,
it's still scary because I was hearing they were setting up for regular voting in Atlanta, and they were missing the books that you log in with today.
Oh, Stacey Abrams is going to be all over that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think there's going to still be a lot of bullshit going on, and I do think a bunch of people said, "Oh, they're going to throw out my early vote or something, so I have to wait."
Yeah,
and so it's concerning.
And as one of my coworkers said today, and she's one of the ones that never talks politics, she made this odd comment. It was just me and her in the office today, and as we were leaving, I said something like, she made a comment about how she couldn't believe that our other coworker was waiting until the day of to early vote to vote. And I was like, yeah, I know at the luncheon, if there's long lines, she might miss it. And she's the one that's actually running the tech for it. And she was like, yeah, she's like, but it's not so much that. She goes, I think tomorrow all the crazy people are going to be the ones that are voting on election day. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the most political things that she's ever said to me, but acknowledge that even for the people who don't pay much attention, they see it and they recognize that there are a lot of people that are being radicalized, and it is at the point where it is kind of scary.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's it's that, but it's also the people that don't take COVID very seriously.
Yeah.
So it's it's your health is you're putting your health at risk a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They may or may not be wearing a mask.
Exactly. They may or may not be wearing. There's definitely going to be people in line that aren't wearing masks.
Did you see that video that went around on Twitter this weekend with those two bitches who were asked, okay, is that what you were talking about in Tennessee, Mandi, when you were starting to say that?
No, I was going to say my little town, there are 16,000 registered voters is what they said, and almost 1,100 early voted.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
That is insane.
That's
great.
It's
that's
awesome.
Great. That's what that is. That's great.
Yeah. It is. But we went one of the last days that we could early vote, and we were in and out in 10 minutes. It was
nice.
Awesome.
Did you also shake while you were filling out your ballot?
A little, but I was saying whatever the last live that y'all did, that Maddie was there with me and she was repeating out loud the people I was voting for, and I was like,
yeah, they told us that. That's really funny. But yeah, no, so those two bitches. I feel like I don't think it was Texas, but if anybody saw this on Twitter and knows where they were, but so they're at the front of the line and they refuse to put on their masks, and everybody in the line is like the people that are working, the poll workers are like, can you please go to the back of the line until we can, put on a mask? You're holding up these people. And they're just sitting there, and everybody in the line, literally everyone, is saying, just put the mask on so you can vote and we can all go in there and take our turns. Just put your mask on. And they're like, this is like Jim Crow South, and this is like this, and this, because they were taken away to the other part of I don't even know, because the video started, but it was the stupidest thing, and it was just, ignorance just personified. And even when I talk to my grandma, who, is in the Fox News train, even she is just like, why can't you just put your damn mask on? She's like, and she doesn't understand. And even when I try to connect it, I was like, the president doesn't wear his mask, and he says that they're stupid. Right. Even then, the disconnect starts. It's everybody else. And I'm like, all right, well, now we're done with this conversation. But it didn't have to be made political. But these two bitches were just insane. The other thing that is hopeful to me is when you hear about how many people are brand new voters, registered. Yeah. There's been an insane a number of people that this is the first time they're voting, and you hear stories of people that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s. Somebody's grandma who's 90 is voting for the first time.
Wow.
So many people who thought that their vote didn't matter now, after the last 4 years, understands why their vote matters. And it sucks that it took us to this to get there, but it's also kind of, I don't know, it's kind of inspiring and awesome to see that even if Trump wins tomorrow, it will be because of the technicality of the Electoral College, or because they got votes thrown out through the courts. It's not going to be because the majority,
it's not going to be fair and square.
It's not going to be because the majority of Americans said, sign me up for 4 more years.
The Republicans have thrown up so many roadblocks. In Texas, they ruled there could only be one place for dropping off mail-in ballots.
Yep.
And per county, we have a county of 4 million people, and this county covers a lot of acreage. It's impossible. And it just one thing after another trying to keep Democrats from voting. But if this state goes blue, we're going to probably finally get our first Democratic governor in a lot of years.
Nice.
Matthew McConaughey. He's talking about running on the Democratic Party, and he is a Texan.
All right.
Hey, for Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Aren't we all spiritually obligated to make one all right whenever Matthew McConaughey comes up?
I mean, you know what they say about these high school girls.
That's his campaign slogan.
I keep getting older. Stay the same age.
Yeah.
It's very problematic, but also very quotable.
That's a good. We should start a category of movies that are problematic yet quotable.
I like it.
I'm sure Matt already has a list. Yeah, he does.
Like, maybe. There might be 50 films on it already, but like whatever. I mean, it's a working list.
Just off the top of my head.
Just spitballing,
Matt loves problematic, like, quotable movies.
Yeah, that might not fit on like a Twitter handle, but
we could make it work.
We'll abbreviate.
Okay. But what the young voters are doing, because I know that a lot of those, new voters are also Gen Z, and Gen Z is like killing it right now. So,
and Gen Z like wants a planet that they can live on.
Yeah.
So that gives me hope.
Yeah.
Planet they can live on, schools that they can go to.
Yeah, without getting shot at.
Being shot.
Exactly.
Yep.
They've kind of had a rough start to life. So
yeah.
I'm glad they're channeling it to make some real change.
Yeah, me too.
Go youngsters.
They are very inspirational. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah. So I loved this joke. So I listened to Love It or Leave It. I caught up on a bunch of them today. I went for a run, and Camille.
Oh yes.
Yeah, Nanjabi. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Thank you, Nanjiani.
Nice.
Was on, and they were talking about like how they're anxious and like the things they're doing to feel better. And Camille was like, he's like, every time somebody like tweets a link to like somebody's campaign in Act Blue, I'm like, all right, I'll donate. And then they were joking. They were like, Act Blue is kind of like a drug dealer outside of a high school. Like, and I was like, that kind of checks out, because I know anytime, again, like also like somebody's like, can you chip in $6? And I'm like, I can chip in $6. Okay. I did learn my lesson from the war and stuff, of which I think on my personal credit card, I'm still paying back some of that, but I got a hell of a lot of free stuff from it. In those late days.
Can you imagine though? I mean, like now is not the time for people to, well, now is maybe the time for people to stop donating, because now it's officially like, tomorrow's voting. But in the future, how amazing would it be if we could get money completely out of politics? Because just when you think about, and again, I contributed, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying the system, because if you think about the millions that were spent by all the candidates, and if you think about if we actually took that money and like, I don't know, fed some homeless people, like gave people shelter, invested in our schools, like what we could do with that money, but we're just throwing away all this money for people to like make ads to try to get elected.
But to be fair, like let's pull back a little bit. That's also to pay for the salaries of people that are working on these campaigns. So, so there is some.
But couldn't it be like publicly funded, where each candidate
come from?
Well, it would come from taxes, and it would come from like a common.
I heard Texas. I'm like, why does Texas have to pay for it?
Matthew McConaughey.
He'll pay for it. It'll be fun.
We'll finally get legal marijuana.
Yeah, right. There you go. Well,
but if it was like publicly funded, and each candidate could have a payroll for the people that they need on the campaign, and everyone was like funded equally.
Well, I don't think the taxes thing would work, because I wouldn't want my money going to a candidate that like I don't want to give money to. But there is so I think I like Act Blue because along that vein, because it's powered by people, and like it's all small donations, because there's a $3,700 cap of what you can give. Mm-hmm. So like, it gets to a point where you do max out at a few $1,000s. Like you can't just give $1 million through it. So like they do have like, kind of like protections put into place there, but there actually is when you do your taxes, there's actually, and I learned this when we had that, thing that where we mispaid for the stock thing and had to go back and owe money last year. I learned that there's a box you can check that will actually donate $1 or something to the presidential fund in general, and then it splits that evenly. It's like $1 or something. It's not a lot, but it splits it evenly between both campaigns. But I guess it rarely even gets invoked by the presidential campaigns or something like that. I know the accountant that helped us with that audit thing, kind of explained it to me, because he had checked it, and I was like, I don't want my money going there. And he was like, it doesn't go there. It goes to this fund that then goes to this and that.
Yeah, well, and I think there's also something to be said about it's a way for people to participate in the process.
And get you enthusiastic.
Not everyone would necessarily feel comfortable volunteering for a campaign or phone banking or text banking or door knocking.
Yeah.
But I think most people would feel comfortable donating $1 or donating $5. So it is a way to feel as though you're contributing. Yes, big money is a huge problem, and yes, to not have money in the political game would be great. But I think
overturn Citizens United.
But just think about the millions and millions. I wish I knew the numbers of how much has been spent in this election cycle, and just what we could actually do with that could help people it's just mind-boggling. There's just too much.
They're definitely saying by far this is going to be the most expensive campaign ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
And the media markets, I didn't realize this, but in Texas, it's a $500 million minimum operation to advertise in Texas or run a campaign, which is crazy. On the New Abnormal podcast, they were just talking about the costs of ad buys and just campaigning in general in different states. And $50 million can go a really long way in Wisconsin, but in Texas, don't even bother to bring that penny there. So yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I used to get a lot more, 14 billion. What's 14 billion? What, Texas?
A lot of money.
That's how much the election for 2020. When I Google how much money has been spent on 2020 election.
See, that's gross. That's gross, and that's so wrong. And I get that, okay, we can pay people to work in the campaigns and stuff, and I'm fine with finding some middle ground. Although the middle ground probably shouldn't be in the middle of 14 billion. It should be way lower. Because think about those billions of dollars. How is it that we can spend $14 billion on an election campaign, but we can allow people to live in the streets, and we can allow people to file bankruptcy for medical debt because they got COVID-19.
Just imagine if that $14 billion went to keeping the schools safe and clean during a pandemic.
Seriously.
So the kids could go back to school, and, if the parents had to go back into lockdown for some reason to kind of minimize the spread, because that would be great.
If only.
I'm all for shutting everything down, but just keeping schools open.
That $14 billion would just go to something else corrupt, because this is America, and that's just how we do it here.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
saying the whole system needs
too worn down. Too worn down at this point.
Don't get. I know we're tired, but it's just the beginning. Because then once, no matter who wins, hopefully we'll flip the Senate so we can at least pass some laws, even if he vetoes all of them. But and we need to. That's also going to be a fight to make sure the laws and whatever gets passed is something that's going to move the country forward. And it's not just going to get stuck in gridlock. And all of a sudden, Lindsey Graham thinks it's going to be great for the two parties to work together. Hopefully, Lindsey Graham won't be there anymore. Hey, guys, who do we want to see lose the most? Lindsey Graham.
Trump, but
no, in the Senate. Come on, somebody out there has got an opinion.
McConaughey would be great, but that's not going to happen. So I suppose Lindsey Graham is probably the most attainable.
He'll be great.
Ted Cruz?
I really wish McConnell would.
Yeah, Ted Cruz, that'd be nice too.
Yeah, but we got 4 more years of Ted Cruz.
It'd almost be better to keep him, because then the Republicans don't like him either. So everybody would be miserable.
The Republicans also hate Jim Jordan and Matt Gaetz. It's just funny that, they're the loud. Hey, a fun thing that happened over the last week since we recorded last is, didn't Donald Trump, Matt Gaetz was in the audience at a rally in Florida, and he kept calling him Rick Gaetz. And Matt Gaetz has recently said, I'm like one of his best friends, and he didn't even know his name. Rick Gaetz being the guy that flipped for Mueller. He was Manafort's I don't know, whatever. I just thought it was really funny that the dude that literally goes around screaming, my opponent has dementia, could not remember the name of his supposed best friend.
It's ironic, don't you think?
But anyway, all right. Who else do we want to see lose? Somebody out there, unmute yourself and tell me who would be the most delicious loss on. Kevin McCarthy would be a good one, too. Okay, literally nobody. All right, well then, consensus says...
Tennessee Senate, our dude's retiring, so we're just voting new person in.
Nice.
Who's
your candidate?
Was it Lamar Alexander? I don't know. I don't like him.
He's the one that's retiring. Lamar Alexander's retiring, isn't he?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's retiring.
Yeah.
So hopefully Bradshaw, she wins.
Okay.
Not Haggerty.
There has been, speaking of Tennessee, there is a wonderful ad by Taylor Swift, or using a Taylor Swift song that Eric Swalwell tweeted out that maybe was his. I was trying to find who created it, but I couldn't. And it uses her song Only the Young from Miss Americana. And I think I've watched that thing like 50 times. It is just a beautiful, I cry every time. It's great. Maybe I will put it in the chat and you guys can watch it at your leisure. Did you guys watch it? I sent it to you guys, right?
Yeah.
Over the weekend?
I think I watched it. But put it in the chat so I can watch it again to be sure.
Okay.
I've been spending a lot of time watching the Tenacious D Time Warp video. So...
Fair.
It's been a wonderful escape.
Okay, fair. Kayla said, did anybody see Beyonce's post and Lady Gaga out with Biden? I didn't see Beyonce's post. Can you tell us about it?
She was just wearing a hat that said Biden-Harris, and I think a mask that said go vote or something like that. But huge star power with her and Gaga in the same day. So,
yes.
Yeah, and Gaga was out with him too, which she had posted earlier, and then all of a sudden she was with him. I was like, oh wow, that was a lot in one day.
Yeah, well, it is the last day.
It is. Yeah.
Pull out all the big guns.
I remember Lady Gaga campaigned for Hillary in North Carolina the day before the election of 2016. So let's hope that she has a little bit more luck this time around. So
oh my God.
She should have done it sooner.
Yes.
Both of them.
Yes.
And Taylor Swift, a little too late with her coming out. I think last year.
Oh,
the first time she made a political statement.
At least I mean, yeah, that's how I felt too. But
at least she finally did.
At least she finally did. Good God, 2016 wasn't that was no. Okay.
Well, if you watch Miss Americana, she talks about how they her handlers pretty much stifled her and wouldn't let her have come out either way, and she wanted to, and then when she finally was able to leave that contract and leave that album, she was like, I'm blue, baby. But something, I think that yes, it would have been nice if she could have done it earlier, but I appreciate all of the work that she's done, because when she made her first political post against Marsha Blackburn in 2018, she actually she urged young people to go out and register to vote, and voter registration as a result of that Instagram post jumped a lot in Tennessee thanks to that. And I do appreciate how much work she has put in since she's found her voice and
definitely better late than never.
Exactly.
So yeah, I feel like when we're in an all hands on deck scenario,
I'll wait until after tomorrow to criticize.
I know.
That's great.
Thank you for your service.
How do you guys feel about In the chat, John said, what about 50 Cent coming out for Trump because he doesn't want to pay any more taxes? Oh, my God. I have to say, all of the MAGAs on my Facebook page were like all about like 50 Cent came out. And I was like, I thought we didn't care what Hollywood celebrities felt about politics. Like, we care now? Is that a thing?
Only if they agree with us.
Right. We only pretend we don't care because none of the celebrities are on our side.
Right. Because it makes us feel bad.
Yes, 50 Cent would probably owe 20 cents in taxes. Yep. Look, Taylor Swift came
50
out.
Cent and Martha Stewart.
Yeah, Martha Stewart.
These are some real great celeb endorsements.
Ted Nugent, too. And Ice Cube as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ice Cube as well.
Yeah. Good times. Which
crew.
John Legend and Common did a concert for Biden today as well as a part of that last campaign event. And they kind of, from what I understand, they threw a little bit of shade at Ice Cube.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
Okay, show of hands. We have a bigger crowd this time. Who here has voted already? Okay, Randy and Maggie, can you guys type in the chat yes or no? Maggie has a thumbs up. All right, Randy, give us a thumbs up. Oh, you did. He said he voted today. So, okay, another 100% of this call has voted. This is incredible.
Good job, guys.
This is actually really awesome. Jay's sister is voting for the first time ever tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah, she said she's really nervous. And I was like, I wish I could be like, don't be nervous, but I voted in like every election that I've been able to, and I still shook. So
yeah.
You're going to be fine, though. It's really hard to fill out the wrong thing.
I know, but oh my God, my anxiety. Like filling out a ballot is probably one of the most like anxiety-inducing things. Because it is. It feels so serious. And that's where like my fear of doing something wrong. It's like, oh my God, did I fill in the right bubble? Did I fill in the right bubble? Did I sign my name in the right spot?
Shandy, is this Frank's first election?
It's his second election. He voted in the 2018 election. He became a citizen like 10 days before the election. And in California, you can register super late. I think you can register like to the day of. That could be wrong. Fact check me. But in any case, he was still well within the window to register. So he was able to vote. And it was cool because he was in school in Southern California at the time. And so he got to choose if he wanted to vote in Monterey or in Orange County. Because, technically he had a residence in both. And so he chose to vote in Orange County because, again, his vote would count for more down there because that is a super conservative county where I saw all those Trump supporters a couple weeks ago. And they turned blue for the 2018 election. So he was part of that, which is pretty cool. But then, this is his first presidential election. And of course, now he voted here in Monterey County. And it was cool because we like sat down together and like, did our research together. And like, it was nice to have somebody to like bounce ideas off of while we were filling it out. Yeah. And then dropped it off together too.
Aww.
Just like two cute voters.
The couple that votes together.
Stays together.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. As long as they all vote for the same candidate, they'll stay together. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. We ended up voting for the same things. Like we had the same position on everything. Obviously, I think it's hard. Like I couldn't be married to a Trump supporter. I simply couldn't. Like that's too big of a values clash. But other things down the ballot, like we don't necessarily need to agree on everything. I could accept that, but we happen to be pretty similar in our moral view of the world. So we did end up voting on things, but I could see, in the future, like maybe not, but.
Did you guys have ballot propositions too?
Yeah, there's always a ton of propositions in California. So that's what took me the longest. We had quite a few. I talked about it on the show, actually. I got to vote for some really cool things, like ending cash bail. So we'll see if that goes through, for making like Uber and Lyft drivers considered to be employees, so that their employer actually has to, pay for shit like unemployment insurance, etc.
Social Security.
Yeah. So we'll see tomorrow.
Oh, wait a minute. We're not going to have Social Security if the wrong party gets reelected. He's already told us that.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah. In the meantime, I have like a
he'll have
separate
control of it,
account
yes.
where I've been just saving my Social Security contribution, like what should be coming out of my paycheck for Social Security, because I'm going to have to pay it all back.
Yes, that's
January.
right. So for anybody that doesn't know what Shandy's talking about, is her employer has said that the withholdings, like
payroll taxes.
The payroll taxes, thank
There we
you.
go.
They were withholding the payroll taxes as a part, I don't know, Trump's stupid idea that we're all going to have to pay back next year. Many companies, are still just doing it anyway, but like Shandy's company is not, so she's going to owe all of that money in the new year.
Right. So I'm getting extra big paychecks right now, which doesn't actually help me at all, because I need to it's more of a mental burden because I have to put it somewhere so that I can pay it back.
Pay it back. Yeah.
Just real dumb.
Yeah.
By March?
Is
I'm not
that
sure. I wasn't sure if it was like just getting taken out little by little in the spring, or if everything's going to be due at taxes. I don't know.
Yeah, when it first happened, I was reading and they were talking about, I think it was going to be due back by the end of March or something.
Oh, wow.
So that's really going to screw some people.
Mm-hmm. Because it's like a decent amount of money. Especially if you weren't like necessarily paying attention, like, and you spent the money, or like some people, if you get a little bit of extra money because like they might be hard up, like they might have spent it, which I can totally understand. But the problem is then when you're going to get that bill, it doesn't actually help you. It just kind of kicks you in the ass later on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, John is going to get bourbon, everyone. Randy said that whole thing was ludicrous. It just creates chaos for everyone else, which is true.
That is true.
All right. So as we near the end of this, so what do you guys think? We're going to record a regular episode on Wednesday. Is it going to be Roar like Katy Perry Roar? Or is it going to be another Raw like 2016 Raw?
You're going to get to drink your champagne this time and it be happy.
All right.
Oh, I love it.
Let's put that out into the world. The other thing is by Wednesday, we might not know what kind of Raw it is.
That's true. I think realistically, there's still going to be a lot of unknowns by the time we record on Wednesday.
I'm really hoping
Biden has already said we won't have a decision by then. He really does not expect a decision till for a few days because there are a lot of mail-in votes that have to be counted.
Yep.
I don't know, dude. If he wins Texas tomorrow night, and hell, if he wins Florida tomorrow night, I don't know. I think it's over.
Yeah, I'm really hoping for just an incredible landslide, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
I'm concerned if it comes out a landslide that the real culties are just going to lose their shit.
They're going to lose their shit.
I think they're going to lose it.
I think.
Yeah, they're going to lose it anyway. Like it's.
Like, I mean, I do, and I think that's why it's kind of scary, like, what will happen, because I don't see, like, I don't see anybody being the grown-up in the room over the next few days when you already have, like, people like Marco fucking Rubio and Donald Trump, like, saying things like, yay violence in Texas, like, it's just,
yeah.
it's, but, maybe, and I think that's the other thing is as much as, I think if it does go either the wrong way or if Trump declares victory or whatever, like as much as I think Democrats are going to want to like either riot, you know what I mean? Like take to the streets or, march in the streets or protest or celebrate even. Like, I think there is something to be said about making sure you're like, have your wits about you and stay aware, because I think there are bad actors that are, they're standing down and standing by. And
Yep. As they were instructed.
As they were instructed.
That's the thing that keeps me up at night.
So, speaking of staying up at night, is anybody going to wait to see, like, as long as they can for the results tomorrow? No,
well,
you're all
I'm
going
on
to
the
sleep.
West Coast, so I do have a time advantage in that I'll be going to bed later than y'all. It's going to be hard, though, to, like, go to bed, and usually I have my bedtime, like 9:30, I'm in bed, but it's going to be difficult. And I know that Frank won't be like, he doesn't have, the next day, it's not like he needs to get up for work. So he'll probably be in front of the TV. It'll be hard to, rip myself away. But again, if it's just going to go on and on and on, then at some point it's not healthy to keep
Yeah, and I think
the same newsreel over and over.
And I think that once there's a point like that point, I think that we'll know. I remember we went to bed before he was declared, because I feel like he was declared at like 2 or 3 in the morning. But like it was when it was pretty clear, like, oh, like he lost Pennsylvania, he lost Florida, or whatever. Like he lost North Carolina. Like I think once it became pretty clear, we went to sleep. And then I remember I woke up and Jay was looking at his phone in like shock. It was like 3 in the morning and he was like, Trump won. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, he won. And I was like, oh boy.
Yeah. Again, with the time difference, I stayed up till the end of that one. And Gabby comforted me. It was rough.
Spent a little time in the fetal position on our floor and decided this is an all-time low for me. I just needed to go to bed.
Yeah. Well, we will
went to bed crying, woke up crying. Yeah.
We will do a show on Wednesday. So if you have feedback, we would love for you guys to submit your feedback either way. Voicemail or email or whatever, you guys all know the broadcasters3@gmail.com or 331-276-2373, because we would like to, know what everybody is, what your feelings are. I do think cautiously optimistic, but don't want to think that, because every time I do, my stomach churns a little bit. And it could be the cheese,
PTSD
but
from 2016.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that or the cheese. But I don't know.
A combination of both. It's fine.
Truly could be either way.
Situation.
Truly, I truly could go either way. It's not been a great situation. All right, before we go, what is everybody hopeful about? And I would like as many of you that feel comfortable as possible to tell us what do you feel hopeful about with the election or moving into 2021. Ro, I'm going to pick you to start.
I have to start?
Matt, I'm going to pick you to start.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Sorry. I'll jump in soon.
Well, yeah, I'm just trying to be optimistic. I guess I kind of fall in line with everybody else. It's kind of hoping for the best, but also just
preparing for the worst.
Yeah, yesterday, I was out and there was just a parade of assholes with these as Trump people with honking their horns, and I'm like, oh god, it'd be if they don't get the news they want to hear. But this whole year and everything. But I'm hoping that I don't know, something good can happen. I mean, I don't know, but I think probably my senator will stick around, who is a Democrat, and probably my Republican governor will probably stick around too, because he's. But I'm still thinking that Biden will win, but I'm not really that confident. But yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Okay,
I'm ready now.
Okay, fantastic.
Right. I can say that I still viscerally feel the way that I felt in 2016. I can feel it in my body if I think about it, that moment of, oh my gosh. But whatever happens and whenever we find out, I am hopeful that the people who are doing and saying good things will continue to do and say good things, whether it's locally and just this group of friends that I find so much comfort with, or my own, home friends that I find so much comfort with, moving on to celebrities and to the people from the Pod Save America world, and, to the politicians who have been trumpeting, pun intended, the proper way to be a human being, like the Elizabeth Warrens and the, and the, there you go. And the Pete Buttigieg's and I think the people who've got their fingers on the real pulse of being a human being will continue to do so no matter what the result is. So that makes me feel hopeful.
I like that. I like that. The masses being awoken and the younger generation and the amount of people that have registered to vote and I think will stay engaged, the amount of women who have entered politics over the last 4 years, that makes me hopeful. I feel like no matter what happens this election, I think the younger generation is going to figure out a way to not stand for it and to, it might take another generation, and that does not make me hopeful. But I think that there will be enough people who are mobilized that will fight it, and that does make me hopeful. Mandi.
Well, just to piggyback on what Rose said, and just to be hopeful still that the younger generation, I remember telling my kids in 16, Hillary didn't win, and it was heartbreaking that little girls see that a woman can't beat a man, and now we've come this far and it's still two old white guys, but still they see that Kamala's on the ticket, and that's something. So I'm just hoping that they can see a woman win and be the next in line. And even if they can't, that the younger generation, they're paying attention. And like Rose said on Pod Save America, they interviewed or talked to this 13-year-old boy that was doing phone banking.
Loved him. It was great.
It
was awesome.
This little kid is amazing. You're not going to be able to vote in this election or the next one, but you are so engaged. It was just really great to hear.
Yes.
So that hopefully just teaching the younger generation, even if they can't vote now, that they still matter. They can still have an opinion and they can still enact change.
Yes, I love the whole last half hour of their most recent show. So what they did was they interviewed people. They talked to people who had been volunteering through their Vote Save America program and had been just out there doing phone banking or text banking or helping whichever way. And a lot of the stories were so inspiring, including the one they ended with, which was this 13-year-old boy who, incredible. The whole thing, he was just incredible. Okay, who else wants to go? Does anybody else? Allison, do you want to go? John, you look like you just unmuted.
Yeah, I'd like to see this state go blue. We have not had a Republican governor. A Democratic governor since 1995. Ann Richards, who, of course, was a woman, and she brought a lot to our state. Unfortunately, this state has always been Republican-led, and we just need to have a change. Maybe we can get some progress here. We're so far behind the rest of the world, it's pathetic.
But yeah, we are. Agreed. Okay. Anybody else? Allison, Piper, Randy, Maggie, anybody else? I won't put any pressure, but if anybody does want to say anything.
Yeah, I hope that if it doesn't go the way that we want it to go, that everybody reacts. They fight for it, but they react peacefully and handle it with grace.
Do I want some coffee? No.
And if it does go our way, I hope that they react peacefully and handle it with grace. And that, more importantly, that Trump just fades into the sunset and we never have to hear his voice again.
Yeah, except for when he's testifying at his own trial.
That too.
So the never Trumpers on Twitter seem to think that Trump is going to retire to Mar-a-Lago and think he's going to beat the charges. But then there's this other faction who think that, on January 19th, he's going to take a trip and never come back.
Or he could resign and Pence could be acting president for a couple days and pardon Trump.
Yeah.
But could you pardon him and he hasn't been committed for a crime?
Well, I pardon him for everything. Who knows?
That's why, I think that it would be better So, I mean, I don't think the Southern District of New York is going to bring charges, or anybody is going to bring charges until after he's out of the White House, in which case, hopefully, it wouldn't be Pence and he wouldn't be pardoned.
Hopefully.
Yes. Hey, Maggie. Hi. What are you hopeful about?
I've got something that made me happy and a little bit hopeful, so I would put it in the chat. But Hillary Clinton's Between You and Me podcast today was with America Ferrera, and they interviewed about 7 different people, you know, some 2 teenagers who can't vote but are doing stuff, or at least one that can't vote but are doing stuff for the election. And the end was Glennon Doyle, who was talking about how we can handle mail-in ballots. We're maybe not going to get the answer Tuesday night, but this is how it works. And so that being anxious feeds into everything he wants to do. She said it way better than I am, but like it's towards the end of it, but it was a really good podcast that I will probably be listening to once or twice this week again.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And also I forgot, like, Piper, I agree with you that I hope that it goes like, you know, that we're just overblowing in our minds any kind of non-graceful reaction. Like, let's just hope that this is just everybody's anxiety imagining something bad happen, and that, yeah. So thank you. That was a good point.
People have been pointing out that in the last 60 years, 5 or 6 times, we haven't known on election night. So I think people are getting too caught up in the fact that they think they should know on election night.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely not the case, and it hasn't historically been the case either.
Yes. Well, I mean, even in like 2000, if they had, because like, you know, we talked about like how Brett Kavanaugh and Donald Trump and, you know, everybody's screaming about how you have to know the results on election night. Like, if they had called the results on election night 2000, then wouldn't Al Gore have won? Like, wasn't he the projected winner?
Well, they did. They called it and then they took it back.
Yeah.
And then they recalled it, and then it was like, well, we actually never mind. Scrap it all. We can't.
Exactly.
We can't call anything.
Exactly. Yeah. No, you're totally right. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah. But again, and that's what, like, guys, I try to when I try to explain to people who like think like the mail-in voting is like cheating or leaves like room for fraud, and why would they send everyone a ballot even if they don't live in the state anymore? And like, I'm like, look, okay, like, because most of them are from New York. Like, in New York, we don't have like this system that like California and Colorado and Florida do. Like, we don't have something like that, so we don't understand it. But it doesn't mean that like it's not being handled correctly by the people in that state. Like, I think that's a big problem in the country, is that there are people who just they do things differently, like whether it's in as small as their household, their school district, or their state, and like they don't understand how something works somewhere else and how it could, because it just they're so used to like the way that they know. So like it is all about, like, as I explained to somebody, like it's all about just like educating, like, and if educating somebody who might be freaking out like California is cheating or was Scott saying like somebody could pick up Amanda's mail-in vote in her like apartment or something, like
in my random room of mail on the floor.
But like I think it's
floor mail.
The more you know, right? Like the more you know that that's not a thing that, like, okay, nobody's going to risk like going to jail or being deported or having to pay a huge fine or like being like made national news as like an election fraud cheater or something. Like most people, like the average person isn't going to do that, because just like the fact that they don't like, I don't know, like go out and like murder someone, like they're good people. They don't want to, like, you know, it's not worth it. Like I don't know. Sometimes I think that some of the things that I hear in the room, in the like hysteria mill are very silly. It's like, but stop, that doesn't make sense. Like,
it's just like you get caught up in the flurry and you don't actually stop and think, is this actually logical? Mm-hmm. Do I actually agree with what's being said, or am I just towing the party line?
Mm-hmm. And I was talking to someone today who was worried about like mail-in ballots or, you know, being like cheating. And I was like, look, I talked to a couple people that live in California. They were saying this, like, it's, if you don't want there to be unrest amongst, like, you know, the people in your party, maybe you can just be an ambassador and explain it to them. And if they like care about, the country moving on in general, like, and they care about knowledge, like, they're going to begrudgingly accept it. Like, they might be like, well, that's still bullshit, but like, they're going to accept that it's, not nefarious. If somebody is going to hear you, see the facts and still insist that it's cheating, then they don't give a shit about the process. They don't give a shit about democracy. They don't give a shit about any of that. They just care about the outcome. And like, that's a whole other issue. And maybe, you should take a look and assess why someone would only care about an outcome because it's one that they don't like versus, the system working and how you can maybe, I don't know, whatever. But anyway, okay, sorry. Okay, well, cool, guys. Thank you for playing. A toast.
Randy typed in keep hope alive.
Keep hope alive. All right, a toast to everybody out there. Thank you for joining us. May the election force be with you. See you on the other side. All right, so our next, we're going to do probably one more. And I say hopefully one more, not because I don't like doing these. I love doing these, but I say hopefully because hopefully there won't be a need to because Biden's going to win easily. But do we want to do one that wraps up Election Day feelings, one more next week, which would be November 9th, or do we want to wait till November 16th? For possible results? I'm okay with doing it next week, as I feel like there's going to be
I can't do next week.
You can't do next week. Okay.
I can't do next week.
Okay. Well, then we're going to do what?
Traveling. We'll be traveling.
Oh, that's fun.
Yes.
Where are you going?
Pennsylvania.
Oh.
Well, hopefully Biden takes that. Because I hear if he does, that it's a clean path to victory.
Perhaps ill-advised. Didn't really think about like the dates when we landed on this particular weekend.
That's all right.
Yeah, we won't be back in the city till the 10th.
So okay, Monday, November 16th, 9:00 Eastern time. Put in your calendars. It'll be hopefully our final broad topics of the year. We can always add more if we need to as we go along because I've really enjoyed doing these actually. So thank you guys again. See you on the other side. My name is Colleen.
My name is Amanda.
And I'm Shandy.
Peace out, everybody.
Bye. Stay strong.